Today's 10-Minute Teacher podcast is sponsored by SmartBrief. Stay tuned at the end of the show to learn how SmartBrief can make reading the news fast and easy, even during the school day. Yes, it has happened. The first person to step on Mars has been born and is likely in our classrooms today. So today we're talking about Martians in your classroom, STEM, and making Makerspaces accessible. This is episode 492.
The 10-Minute Teacher Podcast with Vicki Davis. Every weekday, you'll learn powerful, practical ways to be a more remarkable teacher today.
STEM is such a hot topic, and really, we can pull it into all of our classes. Today, we're talking with Rachael Mann, author of Martian in Your Classroom, STEM in Every Learning Space. So, Rachael, first of all, there's a Martian in my classroom?
Yes, actually, there could be multiple Martians in your classroom. And according to research, the first person to step foot on Mars has already been born and could be a kid in your class. It could even be someone in your home, a kid in your neighborhood. So when you really think about what is in store for students and the world that they're getting prepared for, it really is pretty wild when you think about how their world is going to be different than ours. And then that being said, when you look at it from another perspective, the way that kids are interacting, the way that they're using technology, they might as well be growing up on a different planet than the world that we grew up in and the classrooms that we grew up in.
But you know what? Our classrooms still look like the classrooms that you and I grew up in, probably, right?
In some cases, they do. And it's fascinating for me to see some of the creative educators who are finding ways to rearrange and redo their learning spaces in order to ensure that kids are future ready. And I think that that's important for those who maybe don't have the resources to learn what's available out there and how they can really redefine education and make sure that it's not giving out packets and worksheets and doing things that that's how we learned and it worked for us, but the world is different. It's not going to work for the kids who are in our classrooms today.
But truthfully, I don't think a packet ever worked for me. I just don't. I mean, the word packet just makes me go, ah. Okay, so STEM in every learning space. Where do we start? How do we do that? And, you know, you'll have some people who will say, hey, I'm an English teacher. I don't want STEM. And I'm an art teacher. Why do I need STEM? Where do we go with this?
First of all, STEM already exists in our learning spaces. Sometimes it's a matter of making it visible. And sometimes it's even for the educator, for them to really see that they are doing the science, the technology, the engineering and math. Sometimes they don't even realize where it's at or how they can capitalize on it. Or if it really isn't, if maybe they are teaching and you use the example of language arts and it really purely isn't crossing the lines with other content areas, showing those educators how they can do a better job at blurring those lines. Because when you think about the real world, it's not compartmentalized. And we have to show what it looks like, you know, making it relevant for students and finding ways too, especially when you think about the shortage of STEM educators. One answer is really to incorporate more STEM into our learning spaces.
Of course, some people got rid of their computer labs and said, oh, it's just going to be everywhere. And that didn't happen very well, though, did it?
And no, it did not. And in fact, when you look at the careers of the future, every industry is truly a technology industry. That's already here, and it's going to become more so all the time. So anyone who thinks that STEM or technology is a fad, they can think that, but it's not beneficial because our worlds are going to become even more and more digitized and integrated all the time.
So if every industry is a STEM or technology industry, then every classroom should be a STEM or technology class, shouldn't it?
Yes, I do believe that, absolutely.
Okay, so you're talking to a school and they're saying, help us, Rachael, to integrate STEM everywhere. Where do they start? What do they do?
Well, first of all, it really takes kind of looking at what STEM looks like, because STEM is incorporating multiple facets. Possibly having a brainstorm. I was just got out of a meeting with a group of educators here in Arizona at Desert Edge High School, and it was just so cool to see them collaborating on what PD is going to look like this coming up year. And one of the educators was talking about being an art teacher and teaching glazing to some other art teachers. And the chemistry teacher piped in and said, hey, I could use that. I would really like to learn more about the chemistry that's in glazing. And then another teacher piped in and was mentioning how even in physics, looking at creating instruments in physics, or for a poetry teacher to collaborate with an art teacher in creating evaluation. So again, really blurring the line, finding out where math is present already. So I think it really starts with having conversations and making it very holistic so that folks are exploring together and one idea sparks another idea. And the next thing you know, it really truly is becoming visible, and it's creating this culture. It's creating this collaboration piece that's so important. With that, it also gives an opportunity to discover some project-based learning opportunities that you're able to see where your classes overlap and show students too that these classes aren't standalone and they are relevant in the real world.
So you think that cross-curricular projects are a great answer to help us blur those lines and pull STEM everywhere?
Absolutely. And I remember early in my teaching career working for a middle school and not even realizing at the time how phenomenal what we were doing, how critical it was. But we each created calendars of what we were going to be doing in the upcoming month. And those were posted throughout the hallways so that other teachers could see what we were learning. And we could find ways to collaborate. And sometimes it would even be, hey, next year we really need to find a way to connect these two projects, do them at the same time, and find ways to do things together. So it's even making what's happening in your classroom visible to other teachers as well.
Well, and that's something that we should really be doing in our post-planning and our summertime conversations, huh?
Oh, absolutely. So this is the perfect time to be having this conversation as we think about wrapping up the school year. It's already May, but thinking about what that's going to look like in the upcoming school year.
What are some other things that teachers can do now to plan ahead to have more STEM in their class?
Well, thinking back to the technology piece, when we think about schools that don't have computer science programs, finding ways to use the technology that is available and making sure, again, that it's something that's equitable because it is different depending on the context, but finding ways to use the technology that's available, even to elevate student voice, to share out some of these great projects, but showing them how they can connect at a global level. That's something that's really, really crucial. And especially as we think of the Martians in our classroom, because as we think about this space race and different initiatives that are happening, it takes a global effort. It's not going to be just the United States. It's going to be a combination, just like the International Space Station, really help to create some commonalities and some peace as different countries come together to do different initiatives and different tests. We can show students how to collaborate globally, to do projects with students across the globe, to find out about different cultures and to really make their voices heard and use the power of their voice.
You know, one of the things I've seen, Rachel, and I'd love to know what you think about it, is, you know, a school will have all their bright shinies, right? Their STEM gym or their STEM lab or, you know, whatever it is. And you sit down and you talk to the kids and you find out they never really use anything in there.
I had a feeling that was coming when you said the shiny piece. And that's so unfortunate. Learning really should be messy. If it's something that is too important of a piece of equipment to let the students use it, why are we putting our dollars there? This is for students, not for the adults, not to show off our STEM programs. I think that even when we think about Makerspaces, that's something that every content area can benefit from, that ability to innovate and to create, but it should be something that is accessible to everyone and that we are actually using these pieces. Of course, making sure that they learn the proper safety protocols because some of the machines do require some preparation in advance, but making sure that it is something that's used and that innovation piece is happening. It's not just being talked about and then having this beautiful lab or school where nothing is actually being produced, nothing is happening, or only a few elite students are able to use it.
Yeah, and we want our students to be creators, not consumers. Alec Kuros will be on a show talking about that at some point. So, Rachel, thank you for the conversation. I do agree. I want a Martian in my classroom, and we have STEM in every single space. Thanks, Rachel.
Oh, thank you.
The evolving world of EdTech can often seem overly complicated, but it doesn't have to be. Smart Brief on EdTech is a daily email news service made specifically for educators like us. It condenses the latest industry news into a quick 2-minute digest. The folks at SmartBrief read everything, and we get what matters. So activate your free subscription today by heading to coolcatteacher.com/SmartBrief. So that is coolcatteacher.com/SmartBrief. Thanks for staying smart with SmartBrief.
Thank you for listening to the 10-Minute Teacher Podcast. You can download the show notes and see the archive at coolcatteacher.com/podcast. Never stop learning.